When Alice and Jack first started living together, they would lie cuddled up in bed and say nice things to each other.
Always, you and me.
But these words turned out to be absolutely meaningless when the couple came across the first struggles in their relationship. Jack loses his job and whines about it to his girlfriend.
How am I going to take care of you?
Of course he's upset, and it's understandable, but his manner of telling her the news reveals his weakness. He wanted pity from his girlfriend. Losing a job is upsetting, but it's not the end of the world. And he's still young and healthy, so his worries are in fact unfounded. He doesn't suggest any solutions either. He could have said, "I'm not gonna be able to support us for a while until I find a new job," which would suggest that he's confident he's going to get a new job.
I'm sorry.
But no, he just whines. In fact, it's her who starts reassuring him with,
"Don't say that. You're gonna get another job, it's okay."
Alice can feel his weakness. She realizes that she needs to be the shoulder he can cry on, that she needs to become the stronger one in their relationship now.
"I'll take extra shifts, it's not a problem."
It's important to talk about why Jack was so upset about losing his job. He probably got this job in the first place through a friend or an acquaintance, or he wasn't any good at it, or he did something so meaningless that he was easily replaced. The fact that we don't get any information, neither on his job nor on his education, suggests that there isn't much to brag about. Jack knows himself, that he's lazy, that he wasn't any good at school, didn't do anything significant at his old job, so there's not much he can show off at his next job interview. And most importantly, he doesn't want to look for another job. He wants to whine and procrastinate and have Alice hug him and support him financially, and also cook and clean for him too.
Oh, I'm starving. I haven't eaten.
Even back when he had a job, he was the same Jack. It's not like his sudden unemployment changed him as a person. All it did was amplify his weakness. Alice knew who he was from the start. It didn't bother her then, while the relationship was still fresh. Maybe she even liked it a little bit. Maybe it felt like a bit of competition, that she was always winning, always a little bit ahead of him. And now he was out of the game completely. Judging from her behavior in the simulation, she'll never be a quiet wife. She gravitates towards being the leader in a relationship. However, like any woman, Alice is drawn to strong men. She may not understand that herself, because sometimes as women we are torn between what our mind is telling us and what our instincts are telling us. The rational part of Alice tells her to be supportive of her boyfriend, to take care of him when he's struggling. Meanwhile, another part of her that she's not even aware of, her female instincts, are telling her that a man like Jack is not good enough for her, that she either needs him to man up, or else she'll start looking for someone else, someone stronger. Alice acts in accordance with her rational part. She's quick to reassure him and even says that she'll work overtime. And this is where she went a bit too far. She shouldn't have taken those extra work hours. Not only was she harming herself, her physical and psychological health, by overworking herself, but she also made him way too comfortable, and as a result, he started becoming weaker and weaker. The sacrifice from his girlfriend only contributed to his degradation. He no longer had to worry what they'll eat and how they'll be able to pay the bills. He got way too comfortable with Alice supporting them, and over time he became more and more idle. Having so much free time on his hands, he started thinking a lot, reflecting on his life, and maybe started asking himself, what is it that he wants to do in his life? What is it that he deserves? That's how he stumbled upon Frank's podcast. Some of Frank's ideas actually sound reasonable.
Sacrifice doesn't just take courage, it takes faith. Saying, I will stand this pain, this hurt, this effort, knowing that what I want is waiting on the other side.
And might have been helpful had Jack applied them to his life. But Jack is very selective about what sort of information gets into his head. He only hears what he wants to hear. He hears that he deserves a better life, the best life, the perfect life. He knows that in order to really achieve his goals, he needs to start from scratch, and that there's a long, tedious, and challenging path ahead of him. Jack lacks patience. He thinks that he deserves to have it all right this second. But at the same time, he's not stupid. He knows that's impossible, that fairy tales don't exist in real life. But what if he could live in a fairy tale? This is where Frank's podcast comes in.
Modern society has smothered our true selves.
Frank is a talented, motivational speaker and a businessman. People get really inspired by his lectures, but as it usually happens, very quickly the inspirational effect wears off, especially when people realize that they actually have to do something to achieve the goals they had set up for themselves. For starters, for Jack, maybe take a shower, get a haircut, shave, drag himself to at least one job interview, and make that dinner for your working wife. But no, small steps are not for Jack. He likes to dream big. Jack was looking for that magic pill to fix all of his problems once and for all. And he wasn't the only one looking for fast solutions. Frank's project attracted a lot of similar people. People who have given up on the real world because it's just too much work, too much pain. People who joined the simulation didn't have any patience. They were insecure, greedy, lazy, unable to cope with life's struggles. People who settle for life in a simulation as long as it's perfect and they're perfect in it, regardless of all the moral implications.
We're perfect in here. Don't you want to be perfect with me?
However, there's a bit of Jack in all of us, because just like him, we are the products of the world we live in today. Our fast-paced life demands quick actions, makes us impatient, insecure, and greedy. Especially with the rise of social media, people often forget who they are, while desperately trying to portray someone else online to impress their friends and even strangers. They hide behind their avatars just like Jack and his buddies at Victory. One of the challenges of modern life is to resist the societal pressure to achieve it all in a short period of time. These days people become famous and rich in a matter of days, but it shouldn't make us feel any less than them if our path is longer and more difficult. In the real world, success comes to people who cultivate their patience, who are able to organize themselves, who take small steps towards their goals again and again, day after day, month after month, who wake up and repeat it all over again the next morning until they make it, and then continue on their path and get better and better. Jack has a good example right beside him, his girlfriend Alice, who does exactly that every day at her job. To become a surgeon, she had to undergo a lot of training. She had no option but to become an organized and detail-oriented person. Every day at her job is making her a better and more experienced professional. However, it doesn't mean that her job is always exciting. Her days are also filled with boring, repetitive procedures. Despite that, she doesn't stop. She doesn't whine that her job doesn't make her happy all the time. This is something that Jack struggles to understand. In his mind, an ideal job is one that always makes him happy, excited and fulfilled, never bored. His relationship with his girlfriend, it seems to him, has to be always full of passion and happy moments. These are great goals, and we should all definitely strive towards this life, especially this idyllic home life that we saw in Victory. Well, maybe excluding partying so much, that didn't look very healthy. Real life does differ from this paradise. There are challenges, bad days, struggles, pain, boredom, but it's still worth living this life. All the challenges only make happy moments shine brighter. How great it feels to rest after a long and productive day at work. This feeling is almost magical. When you know that you've achieved something, that you've made another step towards your future. And Jack hates every minute of his job.
I have to leave every day just to make enough money to keep us here, and I fucking hate every minute of it. I fucking hate it, Alice!
And we can assume that the job he finally got to be able to pay for their life in a simulation was not a very ambitious position, and he's definitely not trying hard to move up the career ladder. Why bother when he can be perfect in the simulation? He doesn't even shave or cut his hair. Flowers were a nice touch though. I'm sure Alice appreciated it. In the simulation, Jack made Alice a housewife and himself a successful employee, but that didn't change how she felt about him still. She said she loved him all the time, but really she always behaved in a way that revealed how she feels superior to him. She always doubted him. She never fully believed him. She didn't agree to the rules that their community set up. She went behind his back to investigate. She felt physically sick when he was celebrating his promotion. She humiliated him in front of everyone at dinner by taking his seat and asking all those questions. She showed disrespect of his boss. None of his success in the simulation felt real to her. No matter how much Jack tried to portray himself as a successful, strong man, he's just not that man. And Alice could sense that. Alice's behavior in the simulation highlights her real-life personality. She is in no way a quiet wife. She demands a dominant role in a relationship. She's incapable of respecting her husband. The idea of having children is foreign to her.
It's not what we want.
Let's have a baby.
What?
While at the same time her desire to have a stronger, more powerful man beside her never went away. That's why Frank caught her attention. She's drawn to him and she can't even control it. She doesn't even realize that she's captivated by him. She even invites him to watch her and Jack being intimate with each other in his house. When Frank is around, Alice is curious, on edge. She's a bit envious of Frank's wife too, and her ability to be an elegant shadow of her husband. That's something Alice would like to have in herself too, because this way she would be able to be with someone like Frank, a stronger man. But Alice is so complicated. What she can't have, she wants to destroy, to bring down. Instead of admiring his success, she questions it, challenges Frank. She's acting up like a child to make him notice her. With all of her actions, she's screaming, "Look at me, I'm the best here, I'm the smartest one. Look at me, look at me." Had she really cared about Jack and their future together, she wouldn't have acted the way she did at dinner. She would have talked to her husband first and tried to explain everything to him. Frank tried to provoke her.
No great man has changed the course of history without being pushed to the limits of his potential. I do hope you keep going.
And she started challenging him, asking those questions. But really, she only humiliated herself and her husband in the process, because she didn't achieve anything by her interrogation at dinner, did she? She wanted to test Frank, to see if he's really the alpha male that everyone considers him to be, and she got her confirmation. Unaware that she was actually doing it, she wanted him to, quote-unquote, tame her, put her back into her place. She probably cannot rationalize that in her head, but her behavior speaks louder than words. Jack is not the one who could ever tame her. She knew that. Remember how he got all upset at Frank's house while standing there listening to Frank's speech, comparing himself to him, and then he left to cry about his tie, that he should have picked another one? I mean, is that a true leader, really? You can't fool a woman, Jack. You just can't. Unlike Jack, who is upset that his wife won't obey him, won't let him have his fantasy success, Frank is calm. He's watching her, his eyes never leaving hers. He's never panicking, never shouting. He is the villain, he does bad stuff, but he's confident and strong, let's give him that. And who said Alice was looking for a good guy? She was looking for a strong man, and she found him in Frank. But he stood strong and stayed calm under her pressure. And in the end, it was her and Jack who looked foolish.
I was expecting so much more from you.
Could Jack and Alice do something to prevent all of this tragedy? I think they could, but it wouldn't have been easy. They never discussed their problems. When Jack lost his job, they should have had a conversation about what's going to happen next. But Alice just reassured him that everything's going to be fine, that she'll start working more to make ends meet, and that will give him time to find another job. What they should have done was to set up time limits, count their savings, decide to tighten their belts a little, decide on who does which chores. When things were good, they didn't set up any rules in their family, and when things started to get bad, they assumed it would somehow work out, but it only went worse and worse from then on. When Alice comes home, she just wants to rest, and it's understandable. She has so much pressure in her everyday life. She has taken extra shifts and probably has no days off. Alice has no energy to even think and talk about their relationship. It's crucial for a woman to have enough energy left when she comes back home from her job. Alice comes home and sees her useless boyfriend who didn't even make her something to eat, whose only solution is to hug her and ask her to dance with him. Immature solutions, but he doesn't have any other ones. Before, all they did was hug and dance and make empty promises to each other, and it worked. Doesn't work anymore, now that the times have changed. Alice gets angry and shuts the door to their bedroom. She doesn't want him lying beside her anymore. The longer Jack continues down this path, the further apart they will get. She already doesn't want him in her bed. That's a huge red flag. Of course, he feels rejected. His frustration with his life once he became unemployed is understandable, because he finally had to face the truth, that there's a huge gap between him and his girlfriend, and in order to get to her level, he would need to put in a lot of work. It could take years and years for him to become successful. Terrified of the prospect of doing so much work, scared to even take the first step, Jack didn't make any attempts to change his situation. With his wife's encouragement, he could have made some progress. She would see him trying, making an effort, accomplishing some goals, and she would feel better about him. She would start respecting him more. Maybe it would have taken him a while, but anything is possible when you do it consistently. But Jack didn't even start. So yes, I think things could have been different for them, but they both needed to make some important steps. For Jack to man up and get okay with the idea of having a long journey ahead of him. For Alice to be patient with Jack, but at the same time not put too much weight on her delicate shoulders. And for the both of them to treasure that spark that was between them. Because anything is possible when both partners do their best. Someone just needs to take the first step. So that's all I have to say about this film. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video very soon. Bye!